Hello, my wonderful English learners. Welcome back to our storytelling journey. Let me ask you something. When you see a woman wearing a simple black dress, carrying a quilted handbag, or wearing a classic business suit, do you know that you're looking at the vision of one extraordinary woman? A woman who was born into crashing poverty, abandoned as a child and told she would never amount to anything. A woman who changed not just fashion, but how women see themselves. Her name was Gabrielle, but the world knew her as Coco Chanel. And her story is one of the most remarkable transformations in history. Let me teach you this word, extraordinary. extraordinary. It means extremely unusual and remarkable, far beyond what is normal. Picture this, a young girl in a grey orphanage, sewing by candlelight, dreaming of a different life. That same girl would grow up to dress the most powerful women in the world, create perfumes that are still bestsellers today, and build a fashion empire worth billions. But this isn't just a story about success, it's a story about reinvention, about turning pain into power, and about one woman's refusal to accept the limitations the world placed on her. Reinvention means completely changing yourself or starting over in a new way. Today, I want to tell you how an orphan named Gabrielle became the legendary Coco Chanel, and how her revolutionary ideas still shape the way we dress and think about fashion today. Are you ready to discover the secrets behind one of the world's most powerful and controversial figures? Let's begin this fascinating journey together. Our story begins on August 19, 1883, in a small town in France. Gabrielle Bonheur Chamel was born into a family that knew real poverty. Not the kind where you can't buy toys, but the kind where you don't know if you'll eat tomorrow. Poverty means the state of being extremely poor, not having enough money for basic needs. When Gabrielle was 12 years old, her mother died of tuberculosis. Her father, a street vendor who could barely support himself, made a devastating decision. He took Gabrielle and her sisters to a Catholic orphanage in Aubazine and never came back. Devastating means causing severe shock, distress, or destruction. The orphanage was a place of silence and discipline. The walls were white. The floors were grey. The nuns wore black. Everything was simple, clean, and severe. Severe means very strict and harsh, without decoration or comfort. For most children, this would have been a prison, but for Gabrielle, it became a school that would shape her revolutionary vision of beauty. In the orphanage, she learned to sew, not fancy, decorative sewing, but practical, perfect stitching. While other children dreamed of colorful dresses and elaborate decorations, Gabrielle fell in love with simplicity. Elaborate means very detailed and complicated, with many decorative elements. She would later say, "I imposed black. It's still going strong today because black wipes out everything else around." Imposed means forced something to be accepted or used. At 18, Gabrielle left the orphanage. During the day, she worked as a seamstress. At night, she sang in cabarets, small, intimate music venues where people gathered for entertainment. Seamstress is a woman who sews for a living. Cabarets are small restaurants or clubs where people perform music and entertainment. It was in these cabarets that she earned the nickname Coco, probably from a song she used to sing. This was the first time Gabrielle reinvented herself. She was no longer Gabrielle the orphan. She was Coco, the woman she invented. Nickname is a familiar or informal name used instead of someone's real name. Coco was ambitious. She didn't want to remain a seamstress forever. She wanted something bigger, something that had never been done before. Ambitious means having a strong desire to achieve something great or important. Her chance came when she met Arthur Boy Capel, a wealthy cavalry officer. Through Boy Capel, she entered high society, the world of rich, influential people. But she didn't want to be just another pretty woman at parties. She wanted to create something. High society refers to the wealthy, fashionable social class. Coco began making hats, but not the enormous, heavily decorated hats that were fashionable at the time. She made simple, elegant hats that allowed a woman's natural beauty to shine. Elegant means graceful, stylish, and sophisticated in appearance. People were surprised. Some even laughed. Where are the feathers? Where are the flowers and ribbons? But Coco had a different vision. She believed that luxury should be comfortable, not complicated. She believed that fashion should free women, not imprison them. Luxury means expensive, high-quality items that provide comfort and pleasure. Her big break came when she met Arthur Boy Capel, an English businessman who saw her potential. He told her something that changed her life. You don't belong in someone else's house. You should have your own name on a building. Potential means the ability to develop into something great in the future. Capel invested $3,000, nearly $90,000 in today's money, to help Coco open her first shop in Paris. Years later, Coco would say, "He gave me the courage to become me." If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can learn more English through stories with us.
In 1910, Coco opened her first boutique at 21 Rue Cambon in Paris. The fashion world was about to change forever. Boutique is a small shop that sells fashionable clothes and accessories. At that time, women's fashion was all about restriction and decoration. Women wore corsets that made it difficult to breathe, enormous hats that made it hard to move, and layers upon layers of fabric that made simple activities like walking upstairs a challenge. Restriction means limiting someone's freedom or ability to move. Corsets were tight-fitting undergarments that squeezed women's waists to make them appear smaller. Coco looked at this and asked a revolutionary question. Why should a woman suffer to look beautiful? Why should fashion control us? Why can't we be free? She began creating clothes that had never been seen before. She took jersey fabric, a stretchy material that was only used for men's underwear, and turned it into elegant dresses for women. Jersey is a soft, stretchy fabric originally used for men's underwear. Other designers laughed at her. Jersey? That cheap fabric? You can't make haute couture from underwear material. Haute couture means high-end, expensive fashion made by famous designers. But women understood immediately. Finally, here were clothes they could move in, breathe in, live in. Coco's philosophy was simple. Luxury must be comfortable, otherwise it is not luxury. Philosophy means a set of beliefs or principles that guide how you think and act. World War I gave Coco an unexpected opportunity. The war changed everything. Suddenly, practical clothing became essential. Men were at war, and women had to work in factories, offices, and fields. Coco's simple dresses, loose pants, and comfortable cardigans weren't just fashionable anymore, they were necessary. Her clothes became a symbol of a new kind of woman, not a decoration, but a force. Essential means absolutely necessary, extremely important. Then, in 1926, Coco created something that would become legendary: the little black dress. Before Coco, black was only worn for mourning when someone died. It was the color of sadness and grief. But Coco transformed black into the color of power, sophistication, and endless possibility. Mourning means feeling and expressing sadness after someone has died. Grief means deep sadness, especially after losing someone you love. Her simple, short black dress appeared on the cover of Vogue magazine. The editors called it the fashion equivalent of the Ford Model T. Just like the car, it was simple, universal, and perfect for every woman. Universal means suitable for everyone, applicable to all. Coco declared, "I want to give women the power to feel strong. Black is the color of power." That little black dress became timeless. Nearly 100 years later, women around the world still rely on the little black dress for elegance and confidence. Timeless means never going out of style, always remaining fashionable. But Coco's vision extended beyond clothing. In the early 1920s, she decided to create a perfume, but not just any perfume. At that time, perfumes smelled like single flowers, rose, jasmine, or violet. Coco wanted something completely different. She told perfumer Ernest Beau, "I want a perfume that smells like a woman, not like a flower." Perfumer is a person who creates and makes perfumes. Working together, they created Chanel No. 5, the first perfume to use synthetic ingredients that created a complex, mysterious scent that lasted all day. Synthetic means artificially made, not natural. Complex means having many different parts or elements, sophisticated. Chanel No. 5 became one of the best-selling perfumes in history. At its peak, one bottle was sold every 30 seconds somewhere in the world. But success also brought challenges. Coco had partnered with the Wertheimer family to produce and distribute the perfume. The contract gave her only 10% of the profits, while the Wertheimers received 70%. Distribute means to supply or deliver products to stores and customers. This deal would haunt Coco for the rest of her life. She felt betrayed, believing the Wertheimers had taken advantage of her lack of business experience. Betrayed means feeling hurt because someone you trusted acted against your interests. Despite this business disappointment, Coco's influence on fashion continued to grow. Her designs weren't just clothes, they were statements about freedom, independence, and a woman's right to comfort and movement. She famously said, "Fashion fades, only style remains the same."
By 1939, Coco Chanel was at the height of her success.
Her fashion house employed over 300 people. Her designs were worn by the most elegant women in Europe and America. She was wealthy, famous, and influential. Then, World War II began, and everything changed. Influential means having the power to affect or change things. At age 56, Coco made a decision that shocked the fashion world. She closed her Paris boutique, saying, "This is no time for fashion." What happened next remains one of the most controversial parts of her story. Controversial means causing disagreement or heated discussion because people have different opinions. During the German occupation of Paris, Coco began a romantic relationship with Hans Günther von Dinklage, a German aristocrat who was suspected of being a Nazi intelligence officer. Occupation means when one country's army controls another country by force. Aristocrat means a person from a noble or upper-class family. This relationship put Coco in an extremely difficult position. Some historians believe she was simply trying to survive during a dangerous time. Others suggest she may have collaborated with the Nazi regime for personal gain. Collaborated means worked together with someone, often with negative implications during wartime. Regime means a government or system of rule, especially a harsh or controlling one. During the war, Coco also attempted to use Nazi anti-Jewish laws to take full control of Chanel No. 5 from the Wertheimer family, who were Jewish businessmen. This was a morally questionable decision that showed the darker side of her character. Morally questionable means ethically wrong or doubtful. When Paris was liberated in 1944, Coco was arrested and questioned about her wartime activities. She was released, possibly due to her connections with powerful British friends, including Winston Churchill. Liberated means freed from enemy control. But the damage to her reputation was severe. Many French people considered her a traitor. She was no longer welcome in Paris, the city where she had built her empire. Traitor means someone who betrays their country or friends. At age 61, Coco went into exile in Switzerland. For 15 years, she lived quietly, watching from afar as the fashion world moved on without her. Exile means being forced to live away from your home country, usually as punishment. During these years, she watched new designers rise to prominence. Christian Dior's new look brought back the restrictive styles she had fought against. Tiny waists, full skirts, and emphasis on an impractical feminine ideal. Prominence means being well known and important. Coco was disgusted. She said bitterly, "Dior doesn't dress women, he upholsters them." Upholsters means to cover furniture with fabric. Here, Coco meant Dior treated women like furniture to be decorated. Many people assumed her career was over. She was in her 70s, living in exile, forgotten by a new generation. But they underestimated Gabrielle Bonheur Chanel. Underestimated means thought someone was less capable or important than they really were. The little orphan girl who had reinvented herself once was about to do it again. In 1954, at the age of 71, Coco Chanel made a decision that would become one of fashion history's greatest comebacks. She announced she was reopening her fashion house in Paris. Comeback means returning to success after a period of failure or absence. The French fashion press was brutal. They called her a ghost from the past and no longer relevant. Critics wrote that she was too old, out of touch, and that fashion had moved beyond her simple designs. Brutal means extremely harsh and critical. Relevant means important and connected to current situations. But Coco didn't care what the critics said. "I don't care what they think in Paris," she declared. "I care what women feel when they wear my clothes." Her first comeback collection featured everything that made Chanel iconic. Simple tweed suits with comfortable, collarless jackets, straight skirts that allowed women to move freely, and elegant simplicity that emphasized a woman's natural grace rather than artificial decoration. Iconic means very famous and representative of something. Tweed is a rough wool fabric, often with a mixed pattern of colors. Collarless means without a collar around the neck. The Paris critics dismissed the collection as boring and outdated. But something extraordinary happened across the Atlantic Ocean. Dismissed means rejected as unimportant. Outdated means old-fashioned and no longer current. American fashion magazines Life, Harper's Bazaar, and Vogue USA praised her designs as revolutionary and modern. They understood what Parisian critics had missed. Coco's designs weren't boring, they were timeless. American women embraced her suits immediately. Here was clothing that allowed them to be professional, elegant, and comfortable all at once. The Chanel suit became the uniform of the modern woman. Embraced means accepted enthusiastically and gladly. Uniform here means the typical clothing worn by people in a particular group. The most famous woman to wear Chanel's designs was Jacqueline Kennedy, the American president's wife. When she wore a pink Chanel suit during a state visit, the whole world took notice. State visit is an official visit by a head of government to another country. Coco also perfected another iconic creation, the two-tone shoe. The design was brilliant. Beige leather with a black toe that created an optical illusion, making women's legs look longer and their feet smaller. Optical illusion is something that tricks your eyes into seeing something that isn't exactly as it appears. Fashion is psychology, Coco explained. She understood that clothes weren't just about covering the body, they were about making women feel confident and powerful. Psychology is the study of how the mind works and affects behavior. Even in her 70s and 80s, Coco maintained an extraordinary work ethic. She lived at the famous Ritz Hotel in Paris and worked at her atelier until midnight every day. Work ethic means your attitude toward work and how hard you're willing to work. Atelier is a fashion designer's workshop or studio. She was demanding and perfectionist, but her vision remained clear. Create clothes that give women freedom, confidence, and timeless elegance. Perfectionist means someone who wants everything to be perfect and won't accept less. Coco never married and never had children. When people asked her about this, she would say, "I never wanted to be dependent. Love can fade, but work is forever. She controlled every aspect of her brand, from the packaging of perfumes to the lighting in her stores. Everything had to create what she called a dreamlike experience for women. Throughout these final decades, she maintained her business relationship with the Wertheimer family for Chanel No. 5, though she never forgave them for what she saw as their early betrayal. Coco Chanel worked until the very end. On January 10, 1971, at the age of 87, she died in her suite at the Ritz Hotel. Her last words the night before had been, "You see, this is how you die." Her funeral was attended by hundreds of people, many wearing Chanel suits. It marked the end of an era. Era means a long period of time marked by particular characteristics. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can learn more English through stories with us.
After Coco's death, many wondered if the Chanel brand would survive without its legendary founder. The Wertheimer family, who had been her business partners for decades, purchased the fashion house and made a crucial decision. In 1983, they hired Karl Lagerfeld, a brilliant German designer, to lead Chanel into the modern era. Crucial means extremely important and necessary. Lagerfeld understood that his job wasn't to replace Coco Chanel. That would be impossible. Instead, he studied her philosophy and evolved her designs for new generations while preserving her core values: simplicity, comfort, and timeless elegance. Evolved means gradually developed and changed over time. Preserving means keeping something safe and unchanged. Today, nearly 140 years after Gabrielle's birth in poverty, the Chanel brand is worth over $15 billion. Chanel No. 5 remains one of the world's best-selling perfumes. The little black dress is still every woman's wardrobe essential. The Chanel suit continues to be the symbol of professional elegance. Wardrobe means the collection of clothes that someone owns. But Coco Chanel's true legacy goes beyond fashion and business success. She fundamentally changed how women see themselves and how society sees women. Fundamentally means in the most basic and important ways. Before Coco, fashion told women they should be decorative, restricted, and uncomfortable. Coco declared that women could be comfortable, powerful, and free while remaining elegant and feminine. Feminine means having qualities traditionally associated with women. She proved that you could rise from the most difficult circumstances and create something that changes the world. Her life taught that style isn't about following trends. It's about having the confidence to be authentically yourself. Authentically means in a genuine way, true to yourself. Coco once said, "My life didn't please me, so I created my life." This is perhaps her greatest lesson. You have the power to reinvent yourself, to refuse the limitations others place on you, and to create something beautiful and lasting from even the most difficult beginnings. Her story reminds us that you don't have to be born lucky. You just have to be brave enough to begin. Let me summarize the extraordinary journey of Gabrielle Coco Chanel. Coco Chanel's life included these remarkable phases. From orphan to visionary, born into extreme poverty, abandoned at an orphanage, but learned discipline and simplicity. Revolutionary fashion pioneer, freed women from restrictive clothing, created the little black dress and Chanel No. 5. Wartime controversies, made questionable choices during World War II that led to exile from France. Legendary comeback, returned at age 71 to reclaim her place in fashion history. Eternal legacy, built a brand and philosophy that continues to influence fashion today. Key vocabulary to remember: revolutionary, causing complete change, introducing new and different ideas. Iconic, very famous and representative of something important. Elegant, graceful, stylish and sophisticated in appearance. Legacy, something important that continues after someone's death. Timeless, never going out of style, always remaining relevant. Important note about this story: Coco Chanel's life included both inspiring achievements and serious moral questions, particularly regarding her actions during World War II. Her story shows us that even influential people can make both admirable and questionable choices. We can learn from her innovations and determination, while also understanding the complexity of historical figures. The most important lessons from Coco's story: you can overcome the most difficult beginnings through determination and vision. True style comes from authenticity and confidence, not following trends. Innovation often means questioning what everyone else accepts as normal. You have the power to reinvent yourself at any stage of life. Questions for reflection: what does elegance mean to you after hearing Coco's story? How do you think Coco's difficult childhood influenced her designs? What can we learn from both her successes and her mistakes? Remember Coco's powerful words: you don't have to be born lucky, you just have to be brave enough to begin. Your style challenge this week: think about what makes you feel most confident and comfortable. Coco taught us that true elegance comes from feeling free to be yourself, not from following what others expect. Like Coco, you have the power to create your own definition of success and elegance. Her story reminds us that our beginnings don't determine our endings, our courage and vision do. Don't forget to like this video if Coco's incredible journey inspired you. Subscribe for more fascinating historical stories in English, and share in the comments: what does true elegance mean to you? Until next time, my wonderful English learners, remember, fashion fades, but style, your authentic self, remains forever.